Hi, my name is Trisha Friedman, and you're listening to the Shifting Schools podcast. If you are wondering what the role of the librarian is or could be in this new era of AI, you're in for a real treat because you're about to hear from make it three experts in that space. On the show today, we're hearing from Danny, Hiru, and Zakir, who are here to really talk to us about the work that they've been doing, what AI maybe needs from librarians, and how building AI literacy through the library really is part of an established tradition where librarians have always been guiding us when it comes to new technologies, information literacy, and media literacy. Also, if you're looking for an incredible roundup of fiction recommendations that are bound to spark a great conversation about AI, stay tuned because our three remarkable guests have outstanding recommendations for us. Before we dig into this week's special roundup of the librarian perspective on AI, we do have a quick word from our show sponsor.
Shifting Schools is excited to be sponsored by newlight.io. Their platform is designed to simplify MTSS frameworks for personalized student support. Built by leading experts, New Light focuses on getting educators the answers they need fast. Which students need which levels of support? With simple data collection and insightful analytics powered by AI, New Light's platform provides actionable solutions to support your students effectively. Try it for free at newlight.io. That's NEULIGHT.io. Check the link in the show notes to learn more.
Shifting Schools and Crayola believe that creative teaching helps students become future ready. Join Matthew McConaughey, Ada Limon, Mo Willems, and 7 million students around the globe for Crayola Creativity Week, January 27th through February 2nd, 2025. Sign up for access to free learning resources, celebrity videos, daily giveaways, and more at crayola.com/creativityweek.
And with that, please welcome to the Shifting Schools podcast, Hiru, Zakir, and Danny, here to talk to us about positioning the library as a guidepost for learning more about generative AI. I love libraries. I love librarians. So it's a joy to have not one, not two, but three folks here to talk about the perspective of the library. Part of what I really love about libraries, of course, is that they are a space for community building, for idea exchange. And I think particularly during this new era of AI, there's kind of work to be done to ensure that remains true, that we see the library as a space to learn from one another and to come together and do some collaborative work together. I'm wondering what thoughts you all have on what we can do in libraries to ensure that's true, and what work might you want to see prioritized in libraries when it comes to AI?
I think the library is always actually the community hub for technology promotions, build up the capacity for the community, be it is a school library or a public library. I also emphasize actually empowering the librarians themselves in their capacity. So without a qualified and a powerful librarians, a library is just a building or with the books and things like that. So librarians themselves need to improve their AI literacy and engagement with AI. And that's what actually we need to focus. Because librarians for the years, like they're empowering the information literacy, digital literacy, and media literacy. And AI just is an addition to that. So they know actually how to promote that. They know, because information literacy, we have the information evaluation and how to empower our community and things like that. I would just build up the AI literacy for the librarians. Also, librarians can be advocate for protecting the privacy and advocate for ethics in the community. AI is there and we can't avoid it, but how we can actually build up the understanding of our community of their privacy. It can be personal privacy or it can be privacy for the community, as well as how we can actually build up a place and also input our ideas to the policymakers, that how librarians as a community and library as an organization support in this journey to the community of the policymakers, researcher, and the government itself. As you probably know that like UNESCO, for example, emphasized and recommended that the national curriculum should add the AI literacy in their curriculum, as well as we have the World Economic Forum. Recently, we did a research actually with the school librarians, and we received so far 292 responses. And it seems that like school librarians are still in the midst of their AI literacy build-up capacity. So I believe that like we still have room to improve. And if we can actually if we want to take the lead on this, then there is no other way that to build up our own capacity to lead AI regulations or to lead the AI enterprise in schools.
So 2 points. One, to build off of what Zakir was saying, that libraries, both school and public, have traditionally been places to pilot new technologies. So, AI shouldn't change that, whether, it's more recently VR and other recent technologies that have come out. You can buy one or two for a library and give the school an opportunity to work out the kinks with things and see the efficacy of it, and whether, a school should be putting them in a greater scale into the classrooms and that sort of thing. My second point is that like libraries and librarians are community builders, and AI doesn't change that one iota. Whether you are integrating AI into something that you're doing or you're not, we are bringing people together. When we're asked in conferences or that sort of thing, what is our why? My why, I borrowed from Katie Day my first year when I became a librarian, which is my why is connecting people and ideas. And that doesn't matter whether we're in an AI world or prior to an AI world or a future AI world, which is way more involved.
To add to what Danny said, I totally agree. Technology, AI, is going to evolve, change. But as community builders, and libraries are community builders, and librarians are the main important soul of the library. And I think I would like to recommend changing the name library to a learning common, because I think that would bring about a change in the way people perceive libraries. I would like to look at a library as a space that fosters communities of interest, where individuals with similar interests, curiosity come together, people with passion, deepen that passion for learning, and also spark that curiosity and feed the curiosity. In the age of AI, I think the vision would be a library, a place for students, educators, community members, coming together, exchanging ideas, bringing skills and knowledge in a very shared, interactive space. And taking it a little further, I would like to see the space to be like an interdisciplinary learning space where there's a lot of cultural exchange, global awareness, and just bringing about through a network of ideas and skills and knowledge.
I love that idea.
Common.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea of, does the term library not necessarily reflect everything that's happening in that space? That's really interesting.
Educators, are you searching for a new space to connect, collaborate, and grow? Well, Camp Shifting Schools is your new home. With the decline of X, formerly Twitter, we're here to offer a safe, welcoming community where you can join other passionate teachers. Take part in free courses, webinars, and live AMA sessions to evaluate your practice. Ready to join the conversation? Head over to camp.shiftingschools.com and become part of the camp community today. Learning and connecting awaits.
I love how it's both looking at the library as a bridge to the future, but also, Zakir, as you pointed out, very much a connection with the past. Libraries have always been a space for information literacy, for media literacy, Of course, they will be a space for AI literacy. You've always been tasked with helping people understand what does it mean to digest information. And that's not static because the text in which information comes to us keeps changing, right? The technology that is a book has evolved. We have graphic novels that they look totally different from graphic novels of a decade ago. So when it comes to helping educators discuss information literacy, to understanding what it means, I use that word digest because you're hopefully taking the nutrition out of the text type, whatever it is. You have some kind of processing mechanism for letting go of the stuff that's not nutritional, and it makes you want to build more information. What are you hoping that we discuss more in K-12 education or even higher ed when we're talking about AI and information literacy? What are some topics or questions that you would love to see explored a little bit better?
I'll begin on this one. So first, I view librarians as the frontliners of information. I think you just kind of spelled it out yourself. So to that end, we need to be leaders in when it comes to AI education. But in the same way that digital citizenship, digital literacy, teaching skills can't be done in isolation and on occasion, I would argue that time is what we need. AI needs to be done throughout the year. It needs to be integrated. It can't be isolated. It has to have context. We need to get across to both the faculty and the staff that it's not a monolith, because I think a lot of people kind of just look at it that way, that it's all these little big and small pieces, and that we kind of have to spend time in order to get context and nuance into the discussion. So time is what I'd ask for to do all kinds of things.
Add to what Danny says, as a librarian, I see AI information literacy very deeply connected. I think the algorithms are really influencing the way we see things, we rethink, we learn how AI actually curates and even manipulates information. And I think it's important for students and educators to see that. My dream is to actually collaborate with teachers and help students develop those skill sets that we talk about, where they are able to see the different vices that maneuvered. I would like to use the word maneuvered instead of manipulated by AI. And I think with all the different kinds of thinking, I think lateral thinking is a new terminology that I've just learned. It's an old term, but looking at thoughts differently, more than a one-way pathway. I'd like to have students consider multiple perspectives. And most importantly, is also thinking about what Dr. Sarah Elaine Eaton, who's a professor, writer, and a speaker, and she strongly advocates for academic integrity. And she believes, I'm going to leave this out because I really think this is important. She says that in the near future, hybrid human AI writing will become very normal. Human creativity is enhanced now. It is further enhanced. Our life, language barriers will disappear. Humans cannot relinquish responsibility, but control. Attribution will remain very important. And most importantly, the historical definition of plagiarism will need to be evolved. And I think if we are looking at all of that, then partnership with educators is so important to define what plagiarism is and what ethical writing is. What are your views, Zakir?
Hey, thank you. I think that's an excellent idea, actually, what you and Danny said. What I said, actually, that librarians lead the information literacy programs or academic integrity, for example, what Andrew said. I am very familiar with Dr. Sarah Aiton's research we have done. We worked together in the past. As you know, that particularly in the IB schools, there are teacher librarians or school librarians who lead the academic integrity initiatives. And we train the teachers and the students how to do the things, how to promote the academic integrity across the curriculum. And I think that's where we can actually connect AI citizenship. Let's talk about AI citizenship, actually, that can build up the capacity of the students and teachers alike to really empower them using the AI technology. I think if librarians can build up their capacity, they can offer a workshop to the colleagues, and that's how they can promote the AI related stuff, especially AI literacy and AI citizenship in their context. Another things I would like to say that as you see that librarians empowering themselves, but what area they should empower. So if we want to get really empower ourselves, then I would say we need to think about like how we can promote the way we promote information literacy skills. For example, starting from the inquiry questions, investigations, and then what is called analysis the things. I would start with the AI literacy as like prompt engineering, and then go to understanding the bias and misinformation of the prompts, outcomes, and things like that. If we can actually give this input to our colleagues, they actually are in the classroom more than us. If we start or we should take the lead to train the educators, for example, classroom teachers in this context, they will be more empowered, and our community as a whole will be more AI literate, and they will get the AI citizenship. Again, I will get back to our study that we are currently doing. It seems that like many of our colleagues are not in that stage of time, because we see that like only 39% and actually 25.6% school library professionals are saying that they're confident in their knowledge and capacity in terms of sharing the knowledge about AI or train the AI to their colleagues and students. So again, from the previous questions, what I was talking, that we need to empower ourselves to flourish the whole school library spectrum and the school library professionals in this context.
Yeah, what I was going to build off of what both of them saying, one, the same way that digital citizenship is citizenship, and things that you shouldn't do in the real world, you shouldn't do in the digital world, and same way with global citizenship, things that you look at from a global perspective, you can take back to your own local context. I think the same thing applies to AI citizenship as well. And I think it's when I'm doing workshops in my school, that's I'm starting with citizenship. It just is looking at it from a slightly different context, but really, if it's something that you wouldn't do in the real world, then you shouldn't be doing it in the digital world. If it's something you wouldn't do prior to AI, then it's not something you should be doing with AI. If your morals tell you that doesn't sound work. The second thing is that I think the leaders of AI in education in schools can play a very important role in one of the best things that AI can do, and that's help move things from product to process based as far as learning goes. I think a lot of progressive educators have been wanting this change for a long time, and I think AI is some ways the catalyst for that. So being leaders and helping move that along, I think is definitely something that librarians can take part in.
And I also wonder to what extent books themselves as a technology that's a part of this. I always advocate for, if you want to understand AI, you actually have to try things out with it. You have to see where it works for you, where it doesn't. But I'm a little bit biased here because I'm an avid reader. I've always loved reading. So that's also an aspect of the learning for me. And what the three of you are talking about had me thinking about two books. Hiro, your point on understanding algorithms and their influence. There's an excellent book that came out last year by Kyle Chakra called Filter World. And it really goes into just how influential algorithms can be in shaping our taste in music or film or books. And the author of that book proposes do an algorithmic cleanse. Really take some time to try and only pick the media you consume based on human recommendations. And ironically, this is something I try to do because, of course, I listen to Spotify, and I'll be honest, I'm lazy. Sometimes what is right there when I open up the app? Okay, great, I'll listen to that. So something that I've been trying to do more and more of is talk to my local librarian, tell them what I'm interested in, and just take a recommendation from them. And again, it's a small thing, but we're talking about control and still wanting human autonomy, and it's just an interesting experiment. The other book that I feel like I have not been able to stop talking about is by Dr. Kate Darling. It's called The New Breed. And she gives us this great analogy that essentially AI we should think of AI the same way that we've thought about companion animals. And she goes way back into the history of we've used dogs in the military, we've used whales in the military. We're going to use this technology in the same way. It's going to help us. It's not going to replace us, but it's going to help us do a little bit more than we can do on our own. And it's such a great analogy. It's really useful. And critically, I'd say both of those books got me curious to learn more. So I wonder what role you books playing in this learning as well, that it's not just about learning the tools, understanding how to use them, but also watching out for what others are saying. There's going to be a huge range of perspectives. And I wonder to what extent you feel like it's also your job to curate, because the world doesn't have a shortage of hot takes on AI, right? There's so many books. Is there a text that comes to mind for you? Or what are your thoughts on making sure you're showcasing some of those stories for people to learn more from too?
In fact, Trisha, you hit the nail on the head. We're talking, a lot of people are reading nonfiction text to understand AI and the algorithms and all of that. But I came across this book recently. It's an old book. It was published. It's a Booker Prize winner in 2021. It's called Clara and the Sun by Kazu Ishiguro. This novel talks about this perspective of Clara, who is an artificial friend. Just like you mentioned, we have a dog as a pet. And this is an artificial friend created to accompany children. And it raises questions about AI's role in society, empathy, and what it really truly means to be human. The other book I'm really curious, and I'm reading it, I just ordered it right now, is the book by S.V. Divya. She's a Hugo Award nominee, and her book is called Machinehood. It talks about the zero dark 30 that makes the social network. It's a science fiction thriller, no doubt, but it explores beliefs about AI, labor, the economy, and it talks about what is our vision with AI and in our everyday life. And the other book, which I recently ordered on Sora and Overdrive for the children, it was this book called Hardwired. It's a story about the typical geek young boy, and he plays video games. And then he wakes up after an episode and he sees his late father sitting on his bed, and he learns the truth that his father is not human, but a quantum intelligence project. And then this science fiction unfolds, and issues about privacy, free will, and the characteristics of what makes a real human is being talked about. A great discussion for high school students. And of course, how can you not have a love story? No One Here is Lonely by Sarah Emmerich. We talk about romance, online dating, and the future of dating somebody who's not alive anymore, and what it means by keeping and holding on to the memory. And so besides the young adults and the adults, there's a lot coming out is the elementary world. We have Fuzzy, we have Boy and Board, Super Potato series. I haven't read that, but I heard it's very popular. And the Frankenstein. Those are some of the things that we're looking and reading and curating for my students. What about you, Danny?
So like Hiru, I also looked at it from a fiction perspective more than a nonfiction perspective. I mean, personally, I've been taking in a ton of nonfiction, and currently I'm finishing off listening to Yuval Noah Harari's latest Nexus, which is, I'm sure a number of you have probably read. Certainly lots of people have already. But the interesting part to me kind of juxtaposes, Tricia, with what the new breed is kind of stating, right? Because Aurora is talking about the worry of AI being agents and not having their own ability to do things that humans are not guiding in any way, which is very not pet-like. But the two that I wanted to kind of focus on are both fiction. One isn't really that AI at all, but the analogies are great. So it's a pretty well-known book, The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl by Stacey McNulty. And why it's a good comparison is because she's a girl who gets struck by lightning and then becomes someone with mathematical alien intelligence, right? And so now you're living in a world where somebody can do supernatural mathematical abilities. And that actually dovetails quite nicely with how AI enters, at least in some forms. So yeah, I thought that was a great one. And it's been around for a while, and it's a very popular book, and people to reread it, looking through the lens of AI, I think would be very interesting. The other one is a very obvious one, but Wild Robot, and very popular, right? The third movie came out. Actually, I met Peter Brown a little over a year ago in Toronto. It was his first time in Canada, and he came to a bookstore in the West End of Toronto, and I got to hear him speak and ask questions, and he's such a lovely human. But like that basic idea of, looking at artificial intelligence and machine learning and robot capabilities in like an age appropriate way, because so much of the AI stuff is geared towards older kids. Here we gave some good examples to the contrary, but yeah, fiction can often be a great entry point in making things accessible for kids.
Yeah, I'll just set up with the list. One is the book that I read actually even more long ago. AI emerged is what is like 2015-16. The book was published in actually back in 2014. A book called The Circle, written by Dave Eggers. The book is really interesting in the sense that the protagonist, like Maya Holland, she was hired by a technology company, a big technology company called Circle. And when she started the job, she think that, I got something that like is a lifetime opportunity. But once she learned that like how the technology company actually crossing the boundaries of privacy and then doing the surveillance, data and technology, and then she started getting worried. And that's really something that I think connected these days when AI is here, but still we are worried about our personal privacy and academic integrity or other technological influences. And as you probably know also, if I can connect with something, there are many government actually are worried about like how they can actually develop the policies in terms of that. So far, I know that there are many countries, about 70 actually, according to OECD, develop their AI policy, but still there are more technologies for learners than the educators. So there are some research actually are suggesting that we need to really add the research educators in the discussion of the technology. And this is something also, again, we can connect the books that's written fictionally, how actually things should be connected with every stakeholders to afford the privacy and the technology for the betterment.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I think sometimes we always say like nonfiction and fiction are separate, but they influence each other. Even the invention of ChatGPT itself, one of the computer scientists who was working on the transformer shared a little anecdote. I don't know if you're familiar with the sci-fi film Arrival, which it's like this alien language. They're trying to decode it. And the computer scientist talked about that really influenced my approach to working on the transformer. I love the examples that you shared. The only one that I would add to it is there's a really great collection of short stories. It's called AI 2041, 10 Visions for Our Future. It's an amazing collection of short stories. And your point about fiction being such a wonderful driver for conversation, I think it's also like almost the psychological difference between sometimes nonfiction about AI. It might seem, but do I need to be an expert or do I need to be a air quotes techie person to enjoy this? I understand sometimes people see that as a barrier, whereas fiction really is, hey, no expertise required. Just join the story. Let's chat about it. So thank you for giving us more recommendations. I think it is going to really be that blend of fiction and nonfiction that gets more people talking.
Hi, folks. We'll get back to our conversation in just a moment. I want to talk a bit more about newlight.io, the AI FERPA compliant, that's our federal guidelines around privacy of student data, platform making personalized student support a breeze. Student privacy is huge in our schools, and New Light is big on privacy as well. It was one of the first questions I asked the co-founder, Jose, about. There are a few AI systems out there that meet the requirements to being FERPA compliant, and New Light does just that. New Light's IntelliTier platform is more than just a data collection tool. It's an AI-powered assistant that has been trained to truly understand the MTSS framework, student context, and school-specific resources. Developed by a team with both social, emotional, and behavioral needs in mind, and with plans to extend into academic support soon. Studies show effective MTSS and SEL implementations can boost attendance, improve grades, and increase graduation rates. Yet many schools struggle with the complexities of gathering data and turning that data into actionable items within the MTSS process. New Light's IntelliTier platform makes it easy with simple, fast data collection, asynchronous collaboration across the MTSS team, and actionable insight that educators can implement and document their success with. Plus, New Light is advised by seasoned educators and administrators, so they understand your everyday classroom challenges. You have to try it out for yourself. So head over to newlight.io to give it a try for free. That's NEULIGHT.io. Thank you to New Light for taking this on, and a proud sponsor of the Shifting Schools community.
Over and over again in this conversation, all three of you have been talking about the ways we can learn from libraries, the ways that librarians have to see themselves as leaders in this moment. I'm wondering what's coming up for you in 2025, where, again, you're learning with the community, or again, you're really doing the work that will position the library as a hub of leadership for this moment of AI. What's just around the corner for you in 2025?
I'll get started with that.
Go ahead.
I figured we have just recently completed our IASL, International Association of School Library Conference. So in 2025, we have the conference most likely is going to be a physical conference. And also, actually, we have ALA conference in the US. And actually, I'm going to present my AI citizenship framework there. Yeah.
Great. Danny, do you want to talk about the 21st century in Hong Kong?
Sure, I will lead you in, and then I'll come back to some other things. So we've had a dedicated librarian mini conference and library tour with 21st Century Learning in Hong Kong since 2017. COVID made us go online for a few years, but this will be the second year again that we are back in person in February of 25. And Hiru is one of the people presenting. Maybe she can tell us what she's presenting on.
I'm going to be presenting on the ethical use of information and what that means in the new AI world. Like I said earlier, the definition of plagiarism is going to evolve. It's changing. They're looking at process rather than product. Danny talked about UNESCO has brought up some ideas about ethical use. We have the Turnitin guy, the big company talking about the ethical use, and the FIB is also looking at the process rather than the product. And I think more and more by 2025, people, educators in schools will become comfortable using the process rather than the product. I think it's evolving slowly, and I hope to see you all there.
Yeah, so a couple more things to talk about. So one, as part of 21st Century Learning, they do a lot of these online symposiums, like 2.5 hours long. So I'm organizing 2 of them coming up in March. March 22nd is for Asia and Asia Pacific region, and Leon, the wonderful Leon Furs, is keynoting. And we'll have lots of librarians and ed tech people presenting then. The following Saturday, the 29th, it will be for the Americas and Africa and Europe. And the fabulous Jason Gulia will be the keynote and leading on that. And again, we have lots of fabulous librarians and ed tech who will be presenting on that. That's 2.5 hours on a Saturday. We'll be promoting that later. But what I also wanted to talk about, so Zakir, Katie Day, and a number of us started a grassroots organization called INTL, which is International Teacher-Librarians League, back in 2017. And we had a Moodle that we had set up, and we took the Moodle down in December of 23, but we just built a groups.io forum group. And part of the reason why I'm speaking is there is an AI forum that Zakir and I are leading to talk about AI with IB, AI in general in education, and then there is lots of other forums that for global literature, for social emotional learning, led by the wonderful, Dr. Myra Bachtel, and Global Lit by Karen DeVries. And yeah, so that just got started up recently. I can include a link to you afterwards for it. But yeah, a great opportunity for sharing, which is kind of a big part of what all this discussion was about.
To add something, Sita. Oh, sorry. Could I add something, Sita? We have an organization in India and the South Asian group. It's called the Librarian Association. We hold many conferences in India for local librarians and basically upskilling them in technology, digital citizenship, literacy, picture books, everything from CBSE schools to local curriculum. And it's called the Librarian Association. Anybody willing to join can send you the link. And we have a little WhatsApp group. We have many workshops online that are very reasonably priced, depending from the third world country.
Yeah, that's an excellent thing, actually. Just want to thank you, Hiru, and others, those who are actually organizing this stuff, because the more practitioners we actually involve in the research of AI or school librarianships, the better we will be able to make the people understand that how school libraries and school librarians are actually promoting the technology integration, as well as what are their contributions in the wider educational context.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect note to wrap up on, that we need as many opportunities to bring people to come together, to ask questions, to share their uncertainties. What I think is really important that all three of you have touched on, it's not necessarily like having the right answer, but it's having the necessary conversations. So thank you to all three of you for providing so many opportunities for educators to do that. Links about those opportunities will be in the show notes. Thank you so much, all three of you, for sharing and lending some of your expertise today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. I wanted to remind you not to miss out on our webinar series happening April 17th that we're calling Unlock the Power of AI for K-12 Learning. Join us for 3 engaging 45-minute webinars designed for future-facing educators like you. Can't make it live? No problem. Your ticket includes access to all the recordings. Remember to use code SSPOD25 at checkout to save $25 on registration. If you have a team of 5 or more who would like to join us, contact us for our team rate. You can learn more and register at shiftingschools.com. Hope to see you there, April 17th.